Welcome back to the Aussie Shed, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Project Fairlady. Obviously, when I built a lot of the components for this earlier on, I tried to complete everything as fully as possible, which is always hard because there are certain things that aren't in place that you need to account for, etc, etc. So basically what it means is when you get further along the assembly stage, you start to find more and more things that have been left because they weren't able to be done, or they were in the too hard basket, or for whatever reasons, and things that you just decide don't really work the way that you wanted them to, so you're just going to make minor changes. So those things always rear their ugly head, and that's the kind of thing that I'm dealing with at the moment. And also a lot of stuff that I could only do when I got to this stage with the vehicle. So the first thing that I'll talk about here is I've made changes to the indicator wiring on the front of the vehicle. So this is the wiring for our left front indicator, and it's also the wiring for our left front parking light. Due to the arrangement that I have in the front bar with this thing, having ducts in where the original fog lights go. Fog lights used to house the original parking lights, which I've now moved into the indicator. The I think it's the US version has the parking light in the indicator anyway, so it's a fairly simple step to drill a hole in the rear of the indicator light. There's a separate compartment where you can actually fit a parking light globe. So I'd already made changes to this front engine bay wiring loom initially because I was aware of what I was going to be doing there, but I still had the original connectors and two sets of them, one set for the indicator and another set for the parker. So after temporarily fitting the front bar and having a look at the setup, it's like it's a bit messy and a little bit hard to make it all kind of work properly and neatly. The factory connectors were a little bit, how's it going? New connectors aren't really available. I thought the easiest thing to do was just to replace the two 2-pin connectors with a single 4-pin Deutsch connector. This is a DTM, I think it is, which is a smaller version of the Deutsch connectors, and it works really well. There's a rubber grommet up under here that goes through into this section, so it all remains really well sealed, and the same modification's been made to the indicator, so it now has the opposite side of the Deutsch connector, and both sets of wires for the parker and indicator are wired together. So it's just basically a matter of putting it in and plugging it in, and the wiring is just a lot neater and takes up a lot less space. So a little bit of work in doing that, mainly just for the thought side of it, just working out, you know, what's really the best way to approach things and making sure that you don't shoot yourself in the foot with something else that you might need to change in that same area, you know. As you can see, I still have this removable plate here that you access through the hole when you take the indicator out. That gives you access to the bolts that hold the front guard and the front bar together. I also didn't want to interfere with that whilst doing the wiring. So another thing that I've had to tackle on the electrical front is the horns. Now, the horns from the factory mount under the chassis rail here. When I again did the wiring for this front engine bay loom, I did note that the horn connectors and where they were and everything, and I just basically tidied those up when I rewrapped the loom and made sure that they were performing correctly. I tested them. So I've changed the setup with the horns, so let's move across to the front and have a bit of a look at that. So this is where I've positioned the horns in the front in amongst all the air guides and ductwork that I've built in here. So it was a matter of just making new brackets to mount the horns on, and I've obviously repainted the horns. They've been stripped back to bare metal and repainted, and again I've tested them to make sure that they both work. One of the biggest issues that I had with these horns in this location is the factory wiring loom didn't reach. So on this occasion, rather than modify the wiring loom, I thought what I might do is put a fly lead onto the horns themselves so that I could then run it back to the horn connector on the factory loom, which helped me in a couple of ways. First, it allowed me to connect into the factory loom. It means I didn't have to dick around with the factory loom. And also, the style of connector that I'm using allows me to put a small grommet in through another air guide that's in the top, another block-off plate, and get all the loom and everything through really neatly because the factory horn connector is quite large, and it would have meant using a very large grommet at an oversized kind of a hole to get the wire through in this section in here, when I'm going to great lengths to try and make sure that there's no air leaks in this front section. So you can see what I've done here. This lead comes out of the back of the horn. It's actually soldered onto the spade terminal that's on the back of the horn. It's then heat shrunk and sleeved with some split convoluted tubing, and then heat shrunk over the two, so we've got a nice seal there. And then there is a hole up in the back there with a grommet, and then this is just sort of put through it in that position there. Now that just goes through and plugs into the factory connector that just sits above it. You can see here another thing I've had to do. This is a repair to this air diverter here. It was due to the pressure sensor that's mounted on the top of the AC dryer. Now I've bought a new AC dryer for the vehicle because I have also been going through all the AC stuff and repairing and checking all the pipes, replacing all the O-rings, and something like replacing the AC dryer is mandatory. Basically every time you open the AC system you should replace the dryer, particularly something like this where the dryer is of an unknown age. The whole system was open to the air when I got the vehicle. The AC didn't work. You know, it's also obviously something that really needs to be replaced. So when I bought the new dryer, I realised that you could actually switch the pressure sensor to the other side. So rather than have it poking out through here, I was able to mount it on the opposite side of the new dryer, which isn't in at the moment. That won't be fitted until that whole system's ready to be connected up. But it meant that I can block this section off now and just turn it the other way, which is absolutely great. I'm just working on a couple of front end components here, guys. I spent a few hours on these today, stripping them with wire wheels and such, and I'm getting them ready to paint, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to paint them for a few days, so I was a little bit concerned about them getting surface rust on them. So I've thrown a bit of this zinc phosphate pre-primer etch on there. I've used it before. On Pour 15 you have a similar kind of a thing. It's just basically an acid etch type of thing that adds a zinc coating onto on your stuff, you know. Once you've got it sort of stripped back to bare metal, run a bit of this on it, and it just means that it's not going to flash rust, you know. Like you can leave it for, I think it says up to 30 days before it starts forming a surface rust on it. Plus it gives you a like a zinc rich coating on the surface that you can just sort of paint straight over, you know. It just means that the parts are really prepped well and really clean, and they'll take the coating really well. So yeah, almost didn't show you this, guys. There's so many things that I do that I don't bloody get the camera out, you know. I get halfway through it and think, why didn't I record this? But anyway, basically I just stripped these are in, you know, pretty shag condition like the rest of it. Actually, only one of these is off the car. The other one is one I sourced second hand because the one that came on the Fairlady was bent. There's been a few components suspension wise that are you know, haven't really been sort of reusable, that I've had to source other components just through things like, you know, minor little occurrences that have happened with the car. Who knows, they probably belted it into a gutter or something, and you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, a bit of a zinc phosphate wash over these things, and then they can sit for a while I prep more stuff before I get a batch of stuff ready to paint. These will be painted with KBS, like I have done with some of the components, and some of the front end components will be powder coated. I'm just deciding which ones are going to be getting which coatings at the moment, depending on what their service life's going to be and how much exposure they're going to have to the elements and all that sort of stuff. So I just thought you guys might be interested in seeing that zinc phosphate pre-etch. I have no affiliation with KBS, by the way. They don't sponsor the Aussie Shed or anything like that. They just have sort of pretty reasonable products that are, you know, that I find are quite good to use. So anyway, I'm about to go and wash these off with water, dry them, and then I can put them away until they're ready to paint. Alright, on to the next thing. Alrighty, well I finally got some paint on those components that we were just looking at, which I think is these guys down here. And I've actually done a whole batch of painting, And I've actually done other components apart from these as well, but these are the main things I'd like to talk about at the moment. So this is the big majority of our front end components, and everything here needs to be rebuilt, particularly the kingpins. Now I have all new components for this stuff. I have new lower ball joints, energy suspension bushings for the inner lower control arms over there. I have GK Tech upper control arms, a new kingpin, and I'm reusing one of the old kingpins. If you go back to the old teardown video, which I'll put a link to up there, you'll see that one of the kingpins was quite rusty and had a bit of corrosion on it. It cleaned up okay, but it turns out they're not that expensive, so I just erred on the side of caution and bought a new one. And I have full rebuild kits. I have all the seals, all the bearings, new caps, absolutely everything basically that's needed to rebuild all this sort of stuff. Initially I was talking about getting all this stuff sandblasted and powder coated, but I had a bit of time on my hands, so I thought I'll just sort of do it myself, which was really the main reason behind going for powder coating, particularly the stripping side of it. I was talking about these two pieces just before, and I mechanically stripped those, and they were a real pain in the bum. They took quite a while because of the intricateness of them, and I was quite concerned about doing these pieces because they're a lot worse, they're a lot more intricate. So what I did, I chemically stripped all of these pieces. I stripped them with paint stripper first, went over and triced with paint stripper, a scraper, high pressure cleaner, and blasted the crap out of them. Once they were pretty clean, I used a bucket with about, roughly, because I wasn't really measuring everything, I put probably a litre of hydrochloric acid in a bucket full of water, and then dropped these guys in here because they had quite a lot of rust underneath the paintwork, just surface rust, some of it heavier than others. One of the lower control arms had quite a bit of rust under the paint when I pulled it off. It's a component that I bought second hand. My lower control arm on the passenger side was a bit bent, and it was sort of wasn't really worth the hassle of repairing it when they're quite easy to source, good second hand units, which this one was. It was just looks like it come out of a paddock somewhere, so it needed a little bit of extra clean up work. Yeah, so it took almost no mechanical prep on these. I think I got in there with a wire wheel just briefly to get in some corners where the paint hadn't lifted out of, and very, very minor kind of stuff. And then basically did the same thing as these, went over it with the zinc phosphate wash, and just had them sitting in bare metal for a while until I finally got my finger out and painted them all. So they all came up really good. I've put 3 coats of KBS on them, so they've got a very thick coating of this super hard durable finish on there, so I'm very, very happy how they've turned out. So yeah, now it's really time to just rebuild them. I've actually just spent a few hours trying to put together all the components to rebuild these. I've stupidly had them in all different boxes and stuff. As things arrive, in various boxes from wherever they're coming from, they just end up spread throughout the shed. And yeah, the last little packet that I knew that had the bearings and seals in it for the kingpins, I just couldn't find it anywhere. Anyhow, I found it now, so I'm about to embark on rebuilding these components here. This is the upper control arm mounts, and what do these guys do? Oh, they're your tension rod mounts on the front. They don't need any bushes or anything done, they can go straight on. So it just leaves us with our lower control arms, which need ball joints and bushes, and the Kingpin Assemblies, which obviously require a lot more work to get those back together. So what I think I might do, guys, is you'll probably see some separate videos coming out on these different components, just because I think I might split them up into other videos on rebuilding the lower control arms and rebuilding the Kingpin assemblies, just because it sort of separates stuff into particular things that people might be looking how to do, rather than sort of lump it all into one video and just call it various front end stuff, that people probably won't even look at, So that will be coming up very soon, guys, very, very soon. But we'll keep going with other things, and we'll see what we've got next. So I've just finished putting the new seals in the back of the headlights. So I might just pull the headlight out and I'll show you how it all worked out. So you can see that's conformed nicely to the shape of the bodywork and everything there, and it's really doing a great job of sealing the back of the headlight off completely, which is just absolutely perfect. It means this entire area now is sealed from the engine bay. So if you're driving in heavy rain and stuff, you know, you don't have that sort of water ingress that's going back in through this area. And also just for general sealing up of the engine compartment against, you know, unneeded airflow and things like that, dust and crap that can go in down through the back there. Fantastic thing. Concept Z, guys, that's where you get them from. Very happy with how they've turned out. Yeah, I'd definitely use them again. Alright, I'll throw that back in. Beautiful. Alright guys, that's pretty much a wrap for this video. Apologies for it being a little bit all over the place. Sometimes you get a lot of these bits and pieces that you've got to kind of string together to you know, put into a video. It's either that or I just kind of don't do them, but there's always little bits of information in amongst it all, I reckon, that are probably going to be useful to somebody. So if you stuck around to watch all that, bloody good on you. Of course, there's plenty more to come with a Fairlady, but for now, guys, thanks for stopping by the Aussie Shed. Always a bloody pleasure to have you here. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And as always, I'll bloody well see you on the next one. Cheers.